Jets and Jags. You know, there used to be hype on this because it was, number one pick Trevor versus number two pick Zach. But those games were never really too exciting for us. Now Zach is long gone. He stinks. He was actually in victory formation against the Jets last week. The Jags, though, they out here, they doing something. They doing something. They definitely not doing nothing. But we are actually going to go line by line and talk about what they're doing with an insider because it is Third Party Thursday, best day of the week. So come on now, stay live with us after the intro. It is Boy Green meets Wudi.
Can you guys help us get a jet chant here? Yeah, going.
Oh.
Okay, right. Come on in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go!
J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets! Let's go! J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets! Let's go! There you go, Wudi!
Third Party Thursday.
Chris joining us here on the program with a capital P here on the program.
Jake Asman, come on down. How you doing, good sir?
Wow, what an intro. I mean, the Boy Green is known for having the intro, but Wudi, that was unreal, man. Thanks for the kind words, son.
We are men of many names.
My favorite Austrian Jets fan right there, baby.
Boy Green
meets Wudi. Welcome to another episode of Boy Green Meets Wudi. These are not my words, but some have said this is the greatest threest show of all time. So welcome to the program. Okay, I am James Wudi, and I'm always Wudi, rocking everywhere. Right here, my man. Ooh, hit him with it. One more. Okay, hey, okay. There's my man. He is the boy who became king, repping that Naruto. Okay, Paul Esden Jr. in the building. Like we said in the cold open, this is Third Party Thursday. You already know it's game week. We got to bring in somebody from the enemy lines, somebody who knows their team top to bottom so that we can discuss the X's and O's and talk game plan. And woo, we got somebody. Okay, they told me they brought in James Johnson. I said, the NBA player, the dude that could beat up John Jones, that dude. They was like, nah. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. This man, he was covering the Jags for USA Today, but currently he is the co-creator, the co-host of Touchdown Jags. Please give us the real James Johnson. Come on down. How you doing, my good sir?
Hey, I appreciate the intro there, man. Love the intro. But yeah, happy to be here and talk some football. Anytime somebody reaches out to me to flap my gums about football, I'm always game if I'm not working. So yeah, the moment Paul shot me the message, I was like, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
So, James, let's just start here, man. How does it feel to have a team that's 9-4, top of the division, playoffs, winning, all that stuff's going on? Because the Jets have only won 9+ games of the season once over the last 14 years. And that was 10 years ago. So it's been a hot second. So refresh our memories for Jet fans who are watching the show. What the hell is that like? How is that? How's that fit? How do those shoes fit?
You know, it feels awesome. And the reason it feels great, and you can ask a lot of Jags fans this, is because of where we came from. And of course, like when I say where we came from, people instantly like think about like the product on the field. But it's not just like that. It's also the front office now has alignment, right? Now we don't have a coach looking over his shoulder worrying about the GM double crossing him, right? And like now we feel like a fully functioning NFL organization. So that's what I mean when I say it does feel great because, yeah, the product on the field, of course, you know, that's first and foremost. But even behind the scenes, things are flowing well like they should be. While we do have the youngest GM in football, a lot of the moves he's made has gotten the Jaguars from where they were last year to where they are now. And, you know, we're happy about that. But yeah, man, like it just feels good because like the big thing with us as Jags fans was not just, of course, the product on the field again, that's first and foremost, but we just never looked like a fully functioning organization, and that's not the case this time in December as it was last year in December.
Well, I know what I know from the outside looking in, with that front office, the only soundbite I remember is Duval, and my guy was getting killed for that for a little bit. Liam Cohen.
Historic day. Historic.
That's one way to describe it. Yeah.
Oh man, if my phone wasn't blowing up that day, just like you know how sometimes when your iPhone's just like getting alerts back to back to back, just heating up. I was like, oh God. Like normally that's not a good thing with us, but then I checked it. I was like, oh, it's just our coach just like being a goofball at the moment.
Hey, I don't want to rob whatever Woody's question is here, but sometimes these kind of things can go one of two directions, right? And I'll give you another good example, right? Dan Cable, we're going to be biting kneecaps. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? What? And then I thought to myself, like, this guy is going to be here a year. Like, what a freak. What a weirdo. Like, right? Liam go, Duval. They're like, oh, Jesus, who the hell is that? And then all the drama, right? The Buccaneer stuff in the middle of the night. It was some weird thing. We're like, oh, boy. And then we hear that, like, yep, let's see what happens. Now, 9-4. So, hey, sometimes weird is good. Sometimes weird's okay. Go ahead, Woody.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I was going was, is this obviously the record is what it is. How much of that? I mean, you already talked about, the GM adding a lot of pieces actually this offseason, but, is Liam that guy moving forward? And just before you answer, let me point out that the Jets, we recently had our own little coach thing go viral, Adam Gase, with the eyes. But that didn't really work out for us. So we can't do nothing right. Can't do nothing right. But talk to us about Liam and the job he's done this year.
Yeah, Paul pointed it out. That was the first thing I said when the whole Duval viral moment happened. I was like, well, look at Dan Campbell. And the funny thing is we had that conversation when Dan Campbell got his job of like everybody that was clowning him. And me and my co-hosts were like, wait a minute, y'all. That man can coach football. Don't, that weird presser aside, let's visit this back in a year. And lo and behold, they took off, the Lions took off, and they are, where they are now. Not as high as they were in terms of success, but still fighting for a wild card, right? Still successful. But that was that Paul, you hit the nail on the head. That was the exact instance that we had to remind people of when Liam had his moment. In terms of, him and just coming into Jacksonville, man, I don't know of a coach that embodies Jacksonville even more, that viral moment aside. And what was really telling of him being a Duval coach to his heart was running up on Salah after the presser. And that's the moment when people was like, okay, like, he really has Duval in his blood, and this is the guy that we want, leading us heading forward. And he's just been also in the locker room. He's been a culture changer, even in the low moments, which we knew would come because we are the Jaguars and we predominantly had a losing history. We knew there were going to be low moments in this season. The Houston loss, obviously, where they came back from 19 points. And then, earlier in the season, they had some losses that, where they lost to a Bengals backup quarterback, where they were like, it's like, how do we let things like that happen? But Liam Cohen always kept the locker room and the culture upbeat, because when you have the lack of success that the Jaguars have had, anytime you hit a road bump, it could always trickle and just go downhill. And the reason he's the perfect coach is because he has always kept them upbeat. And not only that, but the players they follow his mantra, right? Of like everything you hear Liam say, you hear the players say. Robert Hainsey, who was with him, that's our center, who's with him over in Tampa Bay. When we had those losses, Robert Hainsey was one of the people on the forefront saying, hey, this is a loss, but we're going to get through this together. And we're going to come back. We're going to work even harder on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to fix this, correct this. And every time they had to have that conversation of coming from a low point in the season, they bounced back in a big way, right? So they bounced back from the Texans game with a 3-4 game winning streak. They bounced back from that Bengals game with, a couple rattling off a couple of wins, including a win against the Kansas City Chiefs, which that's probably the highlight moment of the year, which we did on Monday Night Football. And that probably heightens it a little bit more that it was on ESPN. But the ability for Liam and his culture and those he's brought in with him to keep the team upbeat and from, letting them fall in one of those lows that we have before in the past has been huge. And again, man, just when you look at him as a coach, man, he's Duval to the, I would say to the T, but there's no T in Duval. Duval to the, to the T, right? So yeah, he really is, he embodies the city and he's embraced the city a lot and they've embraced him.
Yeah, there must be a silent T in there. I'm not gonna do a quick spell check on that one, but there is this interesting history between the Jets and Jaguars, and it dates back to Wudi's very impressive intro about Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and these two organizations forever being tied, although one side severed their tie already. But Jet fans that season, you remember it well, I'm sure, because that's what resulted in Trevor Lawrence for you guys. We were like, oh, baby. We started 0-14. We're like, the train is clear. Trevor Lawrence, Goldilocks is going to be the QB1 for the NYJ. Then a couple of back-to-back wins, and perhaps not. And we ended up with Zach Wilson. So I'm sort of curious. You guys end up with Trevor Lawrence, and the rest of the quarterbacks in that class all stink. Mac Jones gets traded. Justin Fields gets traded, as well. And Trey Lance was terrible. And you go through the whole quarterback list that was bad outside of Trevor Lawrence. So what's been the Trevor Lawrence experience? Because, as the Jets continue to seek for their, eventual quarterback, I won't lie. One of the names that's been brought up, Wudi talked about it earlier this season, as we're thinking, who could be a name that we trade for or sign or anything in 2026? A name that's come up actually is Trevor Lawrence. It's like, is that a guy that because of how things look choppy at various points during his career? So we're Jaguars fans or Trevor Lawrence. Did you guys hear any of those trade rumors? Is that nonsense? Is that something? Well, what is it with old T-Law?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's nonsense. And before we get to Trevor, man, we always make a joke on our podcast, right? Of we appreciate what you guys did by beating the Rams to put us in the forefront to get Trevor Lawrence. Me and my co-hosts make this joke all the time, and people like it's kind of caught on, and others have made the joke too, but we literally want to put a Frank Gore statue like in front of the Jets facility for walking us into Trevor Lawrence. That, you know what, you want to talk about days like the Liam Cohen situation. You want to talk about days I'll never forget. That was one of them, right? And
Wow.
the jokes were plentiful
You're
on
welcome.
Twitter. Not to make fun of the Jets,
Appreciate that.
but we literally, if it was up to me and Phil, my co-host, we have a Frank Gore statue like literally in front of the stadium right now for converting on that third down. But yeah, in terms of Trevor Lawrence, to sum it up the easiest way, it's been a roller coaster experience, man. Like, he's not good for your anxiety, I'll tell you that, but I have been one of the people who have advocated to be more patient with him for the simple fact that I and a lot of people have this belief too, and you guys are probably along the lines with me on this because you've seen this culture within your own team. But I'm of the belief that sometimes going to the wrong owner can ruin a quarterback's career. Like, who knows what Zach Wilson would have been if he went to another team and started his career with another team. Who knows, right? And I always knew that it would be a roller coaster with pairing Trevor Lawrence with Shad Khan, because Shad Khan, as good of an owner he is in the regards to relations to the city and having a connection with the city, football operation wise, he doesn't have a clue. And I can comfortably say that he does not have a clue what's going on football organization wise. And the ultimate ball that was tied to Trevor Lawrence's ankle was him pairing Trevor Lawrence, making Trent Baalke his first GM. I already knew then like what we were going to be experiencing. And there was a lot of coaching changes, which that doesn't help a quarterback, even though, you can argue it's a lot that Trevor could do better. But how can you be consistent when you're going through multiple offensive coordinators? The man is on his third offensive coordinator, for crying out loud. So I kind of knew what comes with the territory of a bad owner pairing a quarterback with a bad GM. And so it has been a roller coaster as a result. This year has been a roller coaster, which I expected because he's learning another scheme. Again, this is his third one after Peterson and then being with Urban Meyer and Darrell Bevell. Darrell Bevell was the offensive coordinator at that time, but this is his third scheme. And I was a little early on my predictions of when he would kind of hit his stride. I said he would hit his stride around the London trip, around the Rams trip, but he still was struggling there. But he seemed to have hit his stride from that Titans game week before last, and this one, he's been phenomenal. Like one of the better playing quarterbacks in football. And um, earlier in the year we couldn't say that. It was up and down, sporadic. He would start off okay. Chiefs games he was pretty good. Then he hit a low. Rams, so on and so forth. And now he's back on the high. So that's kind of been the Trevor Lawrence experience. But I think like this time, you never want to say it's permanent, but I think this time he'll stay on the high end because of you can really tell that Liam's coaching is starting to like register with him. And a good reason that Liam even came to Jacksonville in the first place was Trevor Lawrence. So that kind of answers your question about the trade rumors. Is like he came to Jacksonville for Trevor Lawrence, and James Gladstone, the GM, did too. And Tony Boselli, the EVP, he was kind of hammering that like this kid has it. He just needs the right tutelage and so on and so forth. But I do think that you could tell that things are starting to register with Trevor because they got all kind of metrics out there on PFF. But now what you're seeing is he is eliminating the dumb throws. And I forgot the exact metric they call it on PFF. But when you look at the amount of throws that he's kept out of harm's way these last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
turnover-worthy plays, yeah.
Turnover-worthy plays, there you go. It's like, okay, Liam Cohen is really starting to register on this guy. We all seen like the videos of Liam like upset on the sideline of the mistakes he's made. But you can tell like it's starting to register. The turnover-worthy plays are starting to disappear. And also what's helping him, and they've been trying to tell him this the whole time, use your legs. Like that's what got you to where you were in Clemson, is not only were you a threat with your arm, but with your legs, he's starting to do that more. And now, teams have more to account for in terms of what they're dealing with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely nailed the different ways to develop a young quarterback. I would say another one is weapons, having good players around them. I think, you've come a little bit, or I've come a lot of bit away from the, Christian Kirks of the world. You got some dogs in there. But, fantasy wise, my guy, Brian Thomas Jr., he wasn't barking, the way I was expecting him to bark, and I said, they got Travis Hunter on the other side, like, making things easier for my guy, BTJ. Can you talk to me about why he's been such a bust for my fantasy team? And should I take it personal? Like next year, moving forward, what should I do? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. You mentioned a reason, like, cause fantasy is just like up and down, it's sporadic. I didn't even do a fantasy team this year for that reason. Like, I was like, I'm not going to put myself through the anxiety of watching the Jacksonville Jaguars and watching my fantasy team struggle at times. Like, I'll just deal with the anxiety of the Jaguars alone, and I'll take a year off from fantasy. But yeah, to answer your question with the struggles with BTJ, is and he's another one of those guys when you like kind of ask Liam and James like who they came to Jacksonville for, he's one of those guys that gets mentioned. But I think like they had a little bit too high of expectations of him. Grant, I mean, he looked phenomenal in his rookie year, but I think they came into the situation wanting him to be the leader of this receivers room. And he's still very, very young himself. And he was a little bit in it. He was really raw coming out of college. And like his best route was the slot fade, right? That tells you like what kind of development he needed in terms of a route tree. And I think the expectations were like super high. on him in terms of them wanting him to lead the way and getting rid of Kirk and so on and so forth. And also, too, what has hurt him is the way that Cohen was, they were trying to use him at first was in a lot of interior patterns where you have to have high concentration and brace for impact. And that really, you look in the beginning of the season, that messed up his psyche because that's not really anything that he did when you look at college and what he had success with last year with us. And it was a hit. I'll never forget. It was in the preseason game against the Steelers where he got like tattooed. And, people, after that point, it looked like Brian didn't want any part of the middle of the field anymore the rest of the year, man. And so what they did is, halfway through the season during the bye, that's when they realized, like, okay, well, why in God's name did we draft Travis Hunter and give up the amount of picks that we gave up for him? And we don't want him to be that guy for us. Why are we trying to make Brian Thomas Jr. that guy? Why can't he be, BTJ be the secondary guy? And, they were going to roll forward with Travis Hunter being the number one guy, but then the injury happened. So that kind of derailed things as well. But what ultimately has turned the trajectory of BTJ's career heading forward, and this will probably help your fantasy team, James, and how effective he'll be, is they actually got somebody in the room that can lead that receivers core that has much, much more experience in Jacoby Myers to handle those interior patterns and be that leader for that room. And, while BTJ is 22, 23, and Myers is like 29, in receivers years, that's a big discrepancy in experience in receivers years. Keep in mind, receivers don't really stay in the league until they don't, 30 at the most, 31, some of them maybe 32. But in receivers years, that's a big discrepancy in experience, right? And I think that's what's really helped BTJ start to click these last few weeks. Now, again, like the catches haven't been in, he hadn't registered anything over 5 catches, but they've been explosive down the field, 20, 30, 40 yards, back to what he was doing before. Jacoby Myers is handling those interior routes and doing the dirty work and being the leader for that receivers core. And also, too, what helps is Brenton Strange, the tight end. He has returned from injured reserve, and he handles a lot of that dirty work as well.
Again, we're speaking with James Johnson, baby. He is the co-host of Touchdown Jaguars podcast, although I hope we're not throwing our hands up like that during Sunday's game between these two teams. And I'll tell you, James, that normally one of my favorite JJs is Jermaine Johnson, not James Johnson, no offense, but everything you've been showing on this podcast, Jermaine may have a run for his money because I'm loving everything we're hearing today, James. So thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Let's go to the other side. So Wudi brought up BTJ and his poor, unfortunate fantasy team, but the other guy on the other side was Travis Hunter. And I want to go back. So during the draft this year, I decided to do a watch party for the full first round. And I'm very blessed and humbled to have had a lot of cool guests on that live show. But I reach out to Jericho Cotchery, Jets legend. I say, hey, Jericho, we've been able to, become friendly and do stuff for each other. He's had a few charity things. We've gotten together. And I said, it'd be cool, Jericho. You could tell your draft story. We could do all kinds of stuff. It'd be a fun appearance to have you on the program. He says, sure, when do you want me? And I'm like, the beginning of the draft is pretty automatic. Cam Ward's going 1, Travis Hunter's going here. Like, it's the perfect time. Let's start the draft show with me and you, Jericho. We'll do a little bit of a chat. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of my Jericho Cotchery interview, I get the da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm like, son of a... I'm in the middle of this Jericho Cotchery interview. The Jaguars just made the trade of the century, trading up for Travis Hunter. Cam Ward's not even halfway down the stage. And sorry, buddy, we've got a new alert to talk about with old Travis Hunter here. And I see it in the chat as well. CBW asking, thank you for shouting out on Twitter. We're streaming live in 5 different locations. My YouTube, Wudi's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So shout out to everyone, no matter where you're watching. Show your support. Like that video. Hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. But CBW asks the question, Travis Hunter was so fascinating during the draft process because he could play on both sides of the ball. We haven't seen that often, like the Shohei Ohtani of football, and a lot of people were intrigued by it. And the Jaguars make the splash to get this guy. We're like, holy crap, we're going to see this guy playing 100 snaps like he was doing in college, playing on defense, offense, and everything in between. Now he gets injured, so that's painted part of the picture here, James. But tell us, and I was using this term sort of on a different show I was doing, Were you overwhelmed? Whelmed? Again, I'm still unclear if whelmed is a word, but the whelmed is in there or underwhelmed. What's been the Travis Hunter experience? Because there's a lot of hype, and then unfortunately, because of a lot of different circumstances, it doesn't seem like he delivered on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll call it down the line. It's been underwhelming. Now, what I will say is, I was one of the people kind of advocating at some point in the season to like have him play cornerback full time. Because I mean, coming out of the draft anyway, I thought he was a better cornerback anyway. So I don't know like who agree on me with that. But what didn't help is also too, when I went to training camp, like you literally couldn't throw on him. And it was, and of course, it's probably because he has such a receiver heavy background. He knows what to expect out of receiver. He knows what quarterbacks are looking at. Him and Shador used to have these conversations of like, this is what the cornerback's looking at when I run this route because he plays both positions, right? So I was along the lines of in the belief that he needed to play cornerback full time. And in the season, he actually was playing cornerback very well. By the way, I think he got like one penalty in the Bengals game that was a bogus penalty, but he was playing really good at cornerback at the least. But again, the problem with that is you don't give up the compensation that they gave up for him to just solely play cornerback. That's a steep price to pay for a cornerback, even though, we say, we'd all probably agree that cornerback is a premium position. It's not like that, like 2 first round picks premium. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, I think, around that Chiefs game, I began to see why they gave up what they gave up for him because and as doubtful as I was that he could play on both sides of the ball week by week, he was starting to prove me wrong. And I said it on my podcast, like, I don't think this kid could do it. I don't think it's doable. But week by week, they were trying to rev up his reps, in terms of total reps, and he was handling it just fine. And I think what the issue was is they couldn't really find the balance. They were trying to find a balance of like, how much should we play him on offense and how much we should play him on defense. But as they were trying to rev up the reps for him, he handled it just fine. And that Chiefs game really, really was the one in terms of that got me off of that mark of like, okay, he does need to play on both sides of the ball like as much as possible because the catches he was making on that defense, and I know the Chiefs defense isn't what it used to be, but the catches he was making on that defense, I was like, okay, this dude is a legitimate receiver, right? And Travis Kelce even said it in his podcast, like, they just need to put this kid on the field at receiver and just let him go. They're overthinking it. And let him also, Travis didn't say this part, but a lot of people were like, yeah, we echo those sentiments. And also let him play on cornerback because he's the best cornerback on this team. They traded Tyson Campbell for crying out loud, right? And a part of that is because how heavily they believe in him as a cornerback. But of course, the injury derailed things, and we kind of had to change paths, and that's why we had to kind of go get Jacoby Myers, which I'm glad we did. That what an addition that's been. But I think, yeah, it hit when you look at the injury putting a fork in his career this year, and at least in terms of his rookie season, it was underwhelming. But I do think the future is bright for him. And keep in mind, the injury was a non-contact injury. It wasn't because he's overworked. It was a non-contact injury in practice, just a freak accident, which, that happens. And, with his mentality and mindset, I have no doubt that he'll bounce back and that he can handle it. But yeah, if y'all would, man, just kind of look at his last few games and like how he was handling the workload. And like, it kind of will make you a believer because I was not one of those who believed he can play as many snaps as he was trying to tell us in, interviews and what have you.
Yeah. Fun fact, I was one of the few, the proud, that thought that he would be a better cornerback, at the NFL level, thinking, oh, okay, they might try it, gimmick plays, like, Travis Hunter package, right, on offense, but mostly be a corner. And, the defense, can use a corner like that. But I'm actually looking at stats right now. And this is, my process of prepping for, a team that I'm not following every single week. Like, okay, let's see, they're number one in this, number, 18 in that. Rushing yards per game. Look at that. And I'm talking about rushing yards allowed. Sorry, excuse me. Rushing yards allowed per game. There's only 3 teams that allow less than 90 yards. That is the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Denver Broncos, and the New England Patriots. Both the Broncos and the Patriots allow 89 yards. And then here are the Jacksonville Jaguars at 82.9. That is something that kind of blew my mind. I had to put the pieces of my head back together because I had no idea that you guys were stingy like that in Duval. Can you talk to us about those? Because I know, Josh Hines Allen, right? That's a player who I don't think gets enough love unless you play Madden Dynasty. My God, they have this dude breaking the all-time sack record every year. Like if you play fantasy, like Dynasty, like they got him doing all this type of stuff. But in the real world, I don't think he gets the love that he deserves. I know another first overall pick that you guys recently had, Trayvon Walker. Are those the guys that we should be circling, or are there other guys that deserve that credit for that stat that I just stumbled upon?
Yeah, it's something they really wanted to fix, by the way, because they were terrible against the run, and that's not where you want to be when Jonathan Taylor is in your division. And to kind of show you, the leaps and bounds they made in that regard. So last year, if I can recall, yeah, Jonathan Taylor ate us up, but this year he didn't hit like 70-yard mark or 80-yard mark to like the fourth quarter. And like it went over my head. Like I wasn't really paying attention to it because like it was a whole bunch of other stuff going on, like in terms of the defense just making plays. But I was like, yeah, like they really are one of the only teams that kind of hold Jonathan Taylor down for as long as they were able to. Now, look, it's Jonathan Taylor, and eventually, he's going to get his. But to be able to hold him in check for 3-4 quarters that's pretty phenomenal. But yeah, to answer your question, in regards to who's responsible for it, well, first before we get to the players, Anthony Campanile, the defensive coordinator, he came in. That was something he really wanted to stress, and like you could tell in his mentality, like when you hear him in press conferences and see him in interviews, like his big thing is like whoever is being blocked, we're not gonna. That's not gonna be allowed. We're shredding blocks. We're getting off of blocks. Like that's a thing of the old. That's a thing that we're leaving in the past. Everybody here is going to have the ability to shred blocks and get off of blocks. So it was a mentality mindset that they kind of helped the team with. But in regards to the players, Devon Hamilton, he's a big name to know. That's the nose tackle who he's a guy that he came from the previous regime, but he does help a lot in regards to the run game. Trayvon Walker, who you mentioned, James, is, one of the best run defending, defensive linemen in the league easily. And it's probably because of his sheer size and just, I'm also a Georgia fan. So like, Kirby Smart, like just kind of like turns you into an animal before you come into the league. Like their practices are just, if you ever get a chance to check out Georgia practices, they're insane, man. But he came into the league at the very least prepped to be one of the top run defenders through Kirby Smart, so that helps as well. Josh Hines Allen has always been a kind of balanced player in regards to a pass rusher and a run stopper, so that didn't disappear. Even when he was struggling in the pass rush regard, he always has been good about shredding blocks and getting off of blocks and what have you. So yeah, those are, you named 2 of them: Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, who is one of the better run defenders in the league, and Devon Hamilton, the nose tackle, who came in from the previous regime and was a guy that you could see potential in, but he needed another coach to tap into it, and Anthony Campanile has helped them in that regard of doing the dirty work.
James, both James, actually, I'm referencing both of you here. First, James, to my immediate left or right, depending on how you're watching this program, he said, like, whoa, that's a stat that blew my mind. I had to put the pieces back together for the Wudi brain and put it back. Another one that I'm going to be honest, jealous. Actually, my next 2 questions, both, are of breed of jealousy. Number one is I see takeaways. 23 for the Jaguars. That's second most in football. And if you hit the ESPN stat, right, you click the top thing. There's a little arrow here I see. It says, "Hey, do you want to see who is at the top of the league?" I'm like, "Yes." Click. Oh, Jaguars second. And then if you click it again, it says, "Hey, do you want to see who is at the bottom?" I'm like, "No, I don't," but I'll click it anyway. And the Jets are down there at 2. So again, just wrap people's minds around this. Jets takeaways for the season, 2. The Jaguars for the season, 23. What in the name of everything that's holy? So I guess my question is, how in the hell is that? It's just is it just luck? Is there a 4-leaf clover shoved up some orifice of the Jaguars? Is it great tape study, being in the right place at the right time? Is it both? Like, oh my goodness. I say, oh boy, James, at the beginning is, how does it feel to have 9 wins and be successful and handsome? Now I'm saying, oh, how does it feel to just apparently just stumble into all these takeaways that the Jets can't get? And by the way, here's a fun fact. The Jets have 2 takeaways, 50% of them, or 1, if you prefer math, came on special teams. So the defense for the Jets this season only has 1 through 13 games. James, what the hell's going on?
You know what? I'm gonna let James go first since we're in his house. You go ahead.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, when you were saying 2 that whole time, I was actually super confused because I was thinking, what do you mean? We got the 1, but yes, the special teams. That little, I don't even know if you can consider. I mean, I guess technically, yeah, but he just dropped the punt. But I guess that counts. That counts. So yeah, it's 1 to me, and the Jets. They, I know when I talked about the run defense, or when James was talking about the run defense, the first thing he said, before we even talk about the players, let's talk about the defensive coordinator. Well,
I see.
We talk about why the Jets are where we're at. Before I even talk about the players, let's talk about the defensive coordinator. Get Steve Wilks out of my life. Get him out of my life, man. His X's and O's, he can't even win tic-tac-toe, man. I have no respect for anything he has done for this organization. I am just waiting for him to receive his pink slip as soon as the season ends. And that's what I gotta say about that.
It's crazy to hear that about Steve Wilks, right? We're talking about a guy with a wealth of experience in terms of in this league. It's insane to hear that, man. That when you said that, I was like, oh wow. But to answer the question, so I don't know if y'all watch wrestling, but Edge has this nickname of the ultimate opportunist. The Jaguars defense is the embodiment of Edge. If you said which WWE wrestler, or well, he's in AEW now, which wrestler is the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, is Edge. And that's not even a knock on them anyway, but I'm just saying, like, they are very opportunistic. A lot of what has helped them is they brought in a lot of heavy hitters, like Eric Murray from the Texans, who, we thought was just a small addition in the offseason, but he's one of these guys he'll knock the lights out of you, man, so to speak. And he's a heavy hitter, and they got a lot of other heavy hitters, a lot of these guys that we mentioned too as well, that are very technical in regards to, stripping the ball and strip sacks, and Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, who's a heavy hitter himself. Like, I don't know if y'all ever seen highlights of him, but try getting hit by that dude and hanging on to a ball, man. It's it's crazy. But yeah, like I think that's a big part of it, is like the tackling regard. They brought a lot of force to this defense. Also too, I think they do a good job of camouflaging, and Devin Lloyd at one point, who's a linebacker, was leading the league in interceptions. They do a good job of camouflaging Devin Lloyd to where quarterbacks miss him, which is crazy to say because Devin Lloyd's playing at an all-pro level. But they do a good job of camouflaging him to get him out there and get a lot of picks. For example, we mentioned the Kansas City Chiefs game, right? The goal line pick that he got on I was about to say Travis Kelce, on Patrick Mahomes, right?
Right.
Where he bear it down as if he was blitzing, And you don't really see this in goal line situations. That's why it kind of shocked Travis, why it shocked Mahomes. But he bared down like he was blitzing, went back into coverage, caught the pick, and that's arguably the pick of the year. Took it back for a pick six. But it's things like that that they've done where quarterbacks are missing Devin Lloyd in coverage. Daniel Jones did it last week. First play of the game, like literally the first offensive play of the game for the Colts, man. He straight up missed Devin Lloyd there. And Devin Lloyd, nice extension, caught it. So that's part of it as well. Like they done a good job of kind of camouflaging him. And again, going back to what I was saying before, they brought in a lot of forceful hitters to this defense.
Well, two things here. First off, the rated R superstar. Yes, me and Wudi, both wrestling fans, as a matter of fact. Oh, Wudi. Oh, I wish I had my money in the bank. I'd cash that in right now, baby. And Ralph's got a camera here. Count it in. And I love it. I don't have the hair to do it, but I'd just be, like, top of my head and going, come on. Oh, he does one of the greatest spears of all time. So I'm glad Woody's going to have this for the rest of the show. Go ahead, Wudi.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got this at Walmart, and the cashier was like, "Oh my God, your son's gonna love that." I said, "Who? This is for me."
That's hilarious. And I do want to get in this question because you mentioned the player, Devin Lloyd. Again, I try to say this all the time because it is so cool that we all get to do what we do. It's humbling. I pinch myself every day that we get to do this. Before the draft of Devin Lloyd's draft, I got an opportunity to interview him. He partnered with USAA. My family has a lot of history with the military, so it was cool. I only got to talk to him for about 10 minutes, but we just had a conversation. Got to talk a little bit before we started recording, do the interview, talk a little bit after, and I was just like, damn, I want me some Devin Lloyd. But it wasn't written in the stars, so it didn't happen. But I can't lie, Mr. Johnson, that when I saw the Jaguars, did I see correctly? They declined fifth-year option, or he's set to be a free agent. What happened there? Is that true?
They did, and I'll honestly, again, kind of following the theme here, I'll call a spade a spade. I was one of the people that was low on Devin Lloyd before this season because he hadn't played to his potential, and again, like when you're going through a lot of what the Jaguars were going through culturally. It was times where I would watch him on the field. It's like, I don't know if Devin Lloyd want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell on the field. And, they've had some bad, questionable defensive coordinators there. And then Doug Peterson wasn't great for the culture that was the coach predominantly through Devin Lloyd's career. But Anthony Campanile has just brought life to him and is utilizing him flat out better. Again, I've said it, like, they do a good job of hiding him in coverage, and people just miss him somehow in coverage, which is insane to say. But they use him a lot better in terms of his utilization. And he's a guy that, previously he hadn't played to his potential, but now he's going to cost the Jaguars a lot of money because
that's what I wanted to ask, James, to jump in here. Sorry to interrupt, but to jump in here, that's what I'm curious about. Do the Jaguars tag him? Do they have the cap space to tag him? Is that even a possibility? Can he work his way to unrestricted free agency? Because like the Jets have $100 million of cap space this upcoming offseason, and it's very rare that players worthy of piles of money make it out there. Sometimes you just gotta, again, you're at the end of the night, the bar closes at 2, and you're like, well, I was shooting for a 10, but I guess a 6 will do, But in free agency, if a Devin Lloyd was able to make a free agency, I don't have to squint. Oh, baby. That's exactly what I was looking for. So is there any chance that Devin Lloyd actually hits free agency, or are you going to crush my hopes and dreams right now, James?
Yeah, it's not happening. They can't let that kid hit free agency. They can't. They do have the cap space, even if that, and I play with the cap a little bit here and there. Even if you have to let Travis Etienne go or something like that, Devin Lloyd is going to be a priority for this team, if not the top priority. In keeping him, push kind of shove, you can franchise him and work out a deal eventually. But James Gladstone absolutely will be giving him a new contract because he means so much to the defense, as we just mentioned. He's a key reason for the takeaways, right? And another thing that I kind of miss is, again, like they're very opportunistic on like tip balls and stuff like that too. So that kind of goes with the edge thing I was saying as well. But no way Devin Lloyd is getting out of Jacksonville, even though they did miss the opportunity to pick up his option. Instead, they did pick up Trayvon Walker's instead, which that makes sense being, I've said what I've said about him. But Devin Lloyd is the one that we're all, as fans, like, that's going to cost us a lot of money because, at the end of the day, it won't be shocking to see him get like all pro nods. Like on PFF, he's like the third ranked linebacker behind like Fred Warner and this one more that I'm missing, I think. And of course, Fred Warner had an injury, but still, he's like third in rank in terms of linebackers there. So they can't let him go, especially with the history that this team has with middle linebackers. It's just kind of hard to see him not holding down the middle for us, from Darryl Smith to Mike Peterson and the guys like that, man. Like he's kind of one of those guys like Liam that embodies the culture of Duval, where it's just kind of hard to see him not there at any point.
James, I'm going to be honest, it's disappointing because I don't know if I've ever admitted this publicly before, but I sort of have a weird kink. It's stealing linebackers from the Jaguars. We were able to do it with Quincy Williams when you guys cast him off just into the streets. And Jet fans went, yeah, I'll take the brother of Quinnen. And I said, guys, he's more than the brother of Quinnen. And I wrote a piece for Heavy. It said, hey, your Jets, I'm just some guy over here, but I pick him up right quick, like, because I think there's a lot of traits. And of course, I was right because I'm never wrong. Thank you very much. Pat myself on the back. So, anywho, I would like to just steal more Jaguars linebackers from you, if I'm being honest. So let's try to see if we can make that happen. I want to give a shout out to Syracuse Love. I see my boy LaQuint Allen down there. What a great selection by the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's my boy. I think you guys are very happy. You guys have Travis Etienne and all these other things, but LaQuint Allen can play. Just want to give him a quick shout out there. And of course, we got a game on Sunday. So, James, how's this going to go? And again, don't hold back. We're friends now. I consider us friends. So I want you to be a straight shooter here. The 9-4 Jaguars, the last time I checked, are between a 12.5 and a 13.5 point favorite over the Jets, which is the largest spread of the week, although that's close now with the Seattle Indy Phillip Rivers comeback. Always something interesting. So it's either the biggest spread or the second biggest spread of the week. So you tell me, Jets, Jaguars, is this a bloodbath? Do things get interesting? Give it to me straight, Johnson.
Yeah, and really quick, just to get off topic a little bit, you mentioned LaQuint Allen, man. That's another guy that they picked up that's been a culture changer. Like that guy, he's another one that embodies Duval, like out there trying to like scrap with with Simmons from the Titans and stuff like that. It's like, this guy's on one, right? What is wrong with him? But like in a good way, right? Like he's one of those guys that he's wired different upstairs, but that's what we needed, especially, from a guy that's going to play running back from us or for us. In terms of the game, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say it's going to be a bloodbath because the Jaguars don't beat teams like they should, right? They always leave something on the bone, so to speak, if you will. And that's one thing that they're trying to, have fixed. Even the Titans game, as lopsided as it looked, it's like we should have put up 35 against them, and his other wins, like the Chargers, when I think they left points on the board in the Chargers game, as bad as they beat the Chargers. So they never really beat teams as bad as they should, and they're trying to fix that. But I will go with a score of, and again, this is something to factor into this too, y'all, is I did see that you have two quarterbacks on IR. So, we got to find out, like not on IR, on the injury report, excuse me. So we got to find out what's the deal there. But if you're starting your third string quarterback, the Jaguars have this history of like not doing well against backup quarterbacks. They really do. The Bengals game, man, that's one of them.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
The Texans game, like anytime we see a backup quarterback enter the game, it's like, oh my God, man. They're finna come back on us. Like it's that crazy. Like we thought it was gonna happen last week when Daniel Jones left, But luckily, Riley is a rookie, so like there was that. Like, but it depends on like what kind of quarterback we're dealing with here. But just to call it, I would say right now, I'll say 28 to 14. So, 2 touchdowns.
Cover the spread. Okay.
Right,
Cover the spread. So for those who partake. Yes.
That was a very respectful answer.
Yeah, it was very respectful. I appreciate that. Yeah, Brady Cook is set to start. He is also a rookie. He's an undrafted free agent out of Missouri, so he is set to make the first start of his NFL career. Nothing's official yet. We'll see what happens. To your point, Justin Fields on the injury report for knee soreness, Tyrod Taylor with a groin. So, and then Adrian Martinez, who we just picked up this week, former Jets legend, would be backing up said Brady Cook. So we'll see what happens. But I'll tell you this, James, it's been a phenomenal conversation, no question about it. You're my new go-to Jaguars guy. Whoever else I knew in Jaguars land, fuck them. Yeah, fuck them, fuck their families. You're the new guy, James Johnson. You're the new guy, baby. You've been crowned.
Hey, I appreciate it.
You can have the belt.
Oh yeah,
that belt, by the way.
Yeah,
love that belt, by the way. Is that the old Steve Austin one?
Yeah, the winged eagle. Yes,
yeah, okay,
yeah. Oh, it's upside down.
Yeah, I saw a little glare on it. I couldn't see it, but yeah. Oh yeah, big wrestling fan. So yeah, we'll definitely hit it off.
Yeah, that was
nice. Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, nice, nice.
And that's the bottom line.
Because Stone Cold said so, man. But, no, I appreciate the praise, man. And again, anytime you need me to come on, man, if I'm not working, I'm free to come on. I'm free to talk Jaguars, man. And as I said, Paul, I've even seen your work firsthand covering the Jets at camp. You know what I'm saying? And James, I'll definitely check your work out too as well when I get a chance, because I'm always looking to reach out to different, people in the content creation realm in the NFL, man. And yeah, man, had a great time here. And anytime y'all need me, let me know. And if I can't make it, I'll get my co-host Phil, see if he can make it, and we'll talk football.
Absolutely.
Well, squeezing in yeah, go ahead, Woody.
I was just gonna say we might have to have a pro wrestling edition at one point. Break that down. I saw on your Twitter, especially AEW, right, is right there in Jacksonville. I'm sure you've made it out to Daly's place. So definitely some interesting conversations that can be had. I won't get it started now because then it'll be another hour down the line. But definitely got some wrestling fans over here.
Well, two things here. First off, John Cena's final match coming up this weekend. So salute to the legend, John Cena. We appreciate you for sure. And we got a super chat in here last second from our guy, Lou B, Super Jets fan. What the hell?
Wow.
With a heavy heart, go Jags, need them to win. It's tanky. I'm sure you're very familiar with that, Mr. Johnson. With every fan base, unfortunately, being in this world, you guys are not in that world right now. Thank God for you guys. But Jets fans are ready for the tank apparently. So Lou B, I appreciate the honesty and the heavy heart. Go Jags. That's disgusting. I will be rooting for the Jets. But I totally understand, Lou B. Totally understand. So we got that already. Wow.
I get where he's coming from. I do. Hey, when you guys gave us that win against the Rams, man, I even tweeted it out, man. It's the infamous Seth Rollins meme where he asked Sheamus to Bruce kick him in the face, and in the Survivor Series, do your part. He said, I tweeted that out to it was a team we played late in that season that we got Trevor Lawrence, because it was like, hey, man, we got to get this number one pick. And again, man, shout outs to the Jets for helping us get there. Hey, and you guys, look, man, I know things aren't really high right now, but look, man, you got to stick to the process, man. And I do like Aaron Glenn. I will say that he's coming from a good organization. He's had some good people around him. That's the same thing with Liam, right? He came from a organization, albeit they're kind of mad with him, but he came from a Bucks organization where he learned a lot, applied it to a culture that, here in Jacksonville that was not great. And once that culture started to settle and sit, it took the team to a new height. And I think Aaron Glenn could do the same.
From your lips to God's ears, baby.
I'm about to say, in Jesus' name we pray.
Beautiful. Well, both James, thanks for a great show, everybody. Mr. Johnson, because some Jet fans like, checking out behind enemy lines, give a plug of everything you got cooking. Anything we might have missed that Jet fans can see ahead of the game on Sunday.
Yeah, you can check our podcast out. Me and my co-host Phil. Shout outs to Phil on the TD Jaguars podcast. We only do audio format for now because we're super busy. But we do want to move to video format like you guys. But yeah, check us out there. We got a website, Touchdown Jaguars. .com as well. You can follow us at TDJagsPod on Twitter, which all our link, like our information is in my description. SportsGrind_done is where you can follow me on Twitter. I'll always call it Twitter. Won't call it anything else.
Fuck X. There you go. Nice.
And you can follow Phil at Phil the Filipino. He does good work too during game days as well. And, we really more so stick to Twitter and the audio format. So during game days, check out our, podcast handle, and we'll be tweeting out stats and stuff like that. And yeah, man, glad to be on once again. And then anytime you need me, hit me up.
There you go.
Sounds good. Another great James, one to another. Appreciate you big time.
There you go. Mount Rushmore, James Wudi, James Johnson, and James of the Giant Beach. You guys are all up there. God bless everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.